Ellen G. White, quote. Selected Messages Book 1 page 208.2. We are God's commandment-keeping people. For the past 50 years every phase of heresy has been brought to bear upon us, to becloud our minds regarding the teaching of the Word, especially concerning the ministration of Christ in the heavenly sanctuary, and the message of heaven for these last days, as given by the angels of the 14th chapter of Revelation. Messages of every order and kind have been urged upon Seventh-day Adventists to take the place of the truth which, point by point, has been sought out by prayerful study, and testified to by the miracle-working power of the Lord. But the waymarks, which have made us what we are to be preserved, and they will be preserved, as God has signified through His Word and the testimony of His Spirit. He calls upon us to hold firmly, with the grip of faith, to the fundamental principles that are based upon unquestionable authority.
Happy Sabbath. This is a new bright evening. The day has gone forth, and we are here coming up with a subject about separation. So before much, 1 Timothy 2:1 tells us, before anything, let's have a word of prayer. Father, we thank you so much for this day. We ask that you that we may know what is to separate ourselves from when and how. We ask that you may organize us into working bodies, not independent atoms. In Jesus' name. Yes, thank you very much. We're here to understand what is separation, because separation, part 1, then the first episode is apostasy. First of all, we must understand the history of God's people. We must understand the history of God's dealing, God's past dealing. If we understand these dealings, then we will be sure. Let me come up with a quotation. Let me come up with a quotation that will open unto us. Actually, before this quotation, let's open our Bible, the book called Exodus. Let's understand the book of Exodus, chapter 19. Exodus, chapter 19. When God called Israelites out of Egypt, He ensured that the people whom He had called understood that they are supposed to be a nation led, that has been brought up by a prophet. So we are beginning with Exodus 19, verses number 4. You have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Continue verse 5. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant. Two things: obeying God's voice from the prophets, messengers, teachers, instructors. In the Old Testament, it was the voice of the priests, the prophets, and the seers. So here we are in the New Testament. Verse number 5. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant. The covenant of God is the law, the 10 commandments. And keep my covenant. Then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. Actually, it is our service to God, our obedience to God that makes every Christian to become separate from the world. The word peculiar, if we go into our text, another term for peculiarity is separation, one who stands out from amongst the rest. Peculiar. Then this nation was brought up by a prophet, by the gift of the prophet. Why? Let's go to Hosea. Let's see how God calls Moses when you look at the history of Israelites coming up from, let's go to Hosea. Coming up from Egypt, God uses a prophet to bring them out, or to hew them out, to chisel them out of mystery of Egypt. Hosea, chapter number 6. Let's see verse 5. The way God has brought his people from Egypt, it is through a prophet. Now, a prophet is to bring people out from Egypt. There is spiritual Egypt, which was the Dark Ages. We know very well that it was like the crossing of the Red Sea. The Advent people experience the disappointment. All right? Now, here we are looking at Hosea chapter 6. Let's go there. Verse number 5. Therefore, have I healed them by the prophets? I have slain them by the words of my mouth. Now, the first process is to separate you from Egypt and the activities in Egypt, and the thoughts, the words of Egyptian are to be slain in you by the words of the prophets. Now, continue. I have slain them by the words of my mouth, and thy judgments are as the light that goeth forth. So we are looking at the words of God, which are going like light, right? But through what? The prophet. In the Old Testament, we had the priests and we had the prophets. The prophets were the masterpiece, the mouthpiece of God's word. They were bringing up the words from God's mouth, and they were to do what? To hew, to bring them out separate, make them peculiar. Let's go to the book of the second witness, comes from Isaiah 51, so that we may know the work of the prophet was to hew, and it was not a prophet if they were rejected. It was God who was rejected if they rejected the prophets. If they despised the prophet, they despised God. If they contended with prophet, they contended with God. Now let's go to Isaiah 51. Isaiah 51. Hearken to me. God is saying, hearken to me, you that follow after righteousness, you that seek the Lord. Look unto the rock whence you are hewn. You see? Hewn. And to the hole of the pit whence you are digged. So the work of hewing is the work of chiseling, or the work of digging. So we continue. We are seeing that through Moses, God brought the Israel out from Egypt. Now as we continue in Exodus chapter 19. Let's go to verse, continue verse 5. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. Now, you remember when God brought the Israelites from Egypt, the purpose of God was that they should reveal him unto all the world. Okay, how? By obeying his covenant, obeying his voice. Now, continue verse 6. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests. One, as they are peculiar, they will be the ones guiding the whole earth into righteousness. Kingdom of priests, they will be the leading superiority, leading and in superiority in regards to religious things. They were the ones to summon the whole earth. They were not to be summoned by the beast. They are not to be summoned by the pagan kings or pagan bodies. they are to summon those bodies and tell them this and this is to be done, or else these are the judgments. All right. So they are to be the kingdom of priests, and an holy nation. Now, being priesthood system, they are to be holy. That is, they are handling the things of heaven, the knowledge of heaven. Welcome to this study, so that you may also subscribe, follow, and share. These are very unique studies we are going to be doing, and the Lord is mighty and great that He has to test the prayers of God's people and to see if they will endure to wait unto the end. So, looking into verse number 6, and you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. That is a sermon of God to Moses in chapter 19, before chapter 20, in reading the 10 commandments. Now, be welcome unto this kind of study to the end. Now we are looking into the kingdom of Israel. They were established. And after they were established, what really happened? Moses was with them. Moses brought them up according to his responsibility. God was faithful with them. Now, coming to the end of his ministry, Moses says this following. Let's go to Deuteronomy. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Then we go to our quotation that will tell us more about the duties that were endowed these men. Deuteronomy chapter number 31. Deuteronomy chapter 31. The Israelites were a nation, but a prophecy was also given so that they may always watch not to fulfill it. Why? Because the Lord has always opened His truth plainly before everyone else, so that whenever there is an apostasy, there is apostasy taking place, they will know for sure that the Lord is wroth with the state or condition that exists amongst them. So the Israelites did the following. They were instructed with the following words from Moses, the servant of God. Deuteronomy chapter 31, verses number 16. Let's begin. And the Lord said unto Moses. Who? Moses. Because he is now establishing the nation of Israel. And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up. Now, this is a prophecy. These people will rise up and go a whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land. All right? All right? So you see, that is the point. These people will rise up and go a whoring. War. There is a war. There is a whore. Let me pronounce it correctly. There is a whore or a harlot, okay, or an adulteress who is existing in the land. And this prophetic insight is giving God's people a warning that whenever they interact, they mingle, they enter into unlawful alliances that are to bring forth trembling, fear, sympathy, things as to do with emotions in regards to pagan or idolatrous worship. Then I want to tell you, these alliances or this ecumenical movement will always make God's people corrupt, because they will shut the voice of God. They will quench the spirit. That is the word from Paul. Now, let's see what Diop has to say at this point. We are going to see what Diop is going to say, because we are in the same situation where verse 16 of Deuteronomy 31 is saying, these people will rise up and go a whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land. They will just go there after the gods of the strangers of the land, whither they go to be among them. And they will be among them. Continue. Let's see. Are we there?
We're sir to kindly felicitate and welcome Gunan Diop, the Director of Public Affairs and Religious Liberty. We'd also like to request sir to kindly felicitate and welcome Gunan Diop, the Director of Public Affairs and Religious Liberty, Seventh-day Adventist Church. A big round of applause for all the dignitaries on the dais. Thank you very much. But if you pay attention to the words of this prayer purely talks about the well-being of entire humanity and our planet. So I request everyone to please fold their hands, close their eyes, bring the image of your mother, father, your deity in front of your eyes, and wholeheartedly participate in the world peace prayer.
प्रतिपाद्या जय जय स्वसंवेद्या गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु.
Kindly pause for a minute. As you see what is happening, that is a representative from the leadership. Now, amongst the leadership, we are seeing a confederacy in the land with the pagan priests. God has called his people to become a priest, to become a holy nation. But they have become those who will fulfill the history, who will fulfill the prophecy given to Moses. God is giving Moses a prophecy. These people will rise up. They'll be rebellious. They'll rise up, going after the pagan deity. The video you just watch is Gonon Diop. Gonon Diop is a representative from Seventh Adventist General Conference. General Conference leaders are in sympathy with the pagan deities, entering into their shrines, going into them to preach the United Nations policies. So today we are going to see one by one, what are these policies coming from? Where and whom do these policies come from? First of all, let's go to the history of Israelites and see what Moses was told. We will continue the video from that minute. Now, the temple you have seen is the temple in India, the largest of them all, not even the smallest, the largest temple. So whatever we are talking about here is a repeat of history which is taking place. Now, let me come to this quotation so that you may understand what the spirit of prophecy has to say and deal with that. The book is EP, Eternity Past. EP, Eternity Past. While the Israelites, now living, page 346.2. 346.2. The large and wealthy city of Jericho. Now, the Israelites had just left Moses and gone, led by Joshua. So, point 2, 346. The large and wealthy city. Just check it up. EP. Now, after they had left Moses, so what happened? And check it up. The large and wealthy city. Check it in the quotation. Let me get it for you. This history should be understood by God's people, as we are to understand our salvation has a great price. Our salvation has a great price. I have a lot of quotations so that if we don't want to check it, we can. If we cannot check it, we can just check it later. Let me check it for us so that we may have it in our notes. EP. The statement is saying the large and wealthy city. The large, wealthy. We are not going to allow anyone not to accept it. 346, that is the quotation I gave. The large, EP, kindly just be calm down. EP, then you go to the page, You write 346. Then you write, you don't write point 2. You go to the verse place, you paragraph place, you write 2. The large and wealthy city of Jericho lay just a little distance from their camp at Gilgal. Now, where did the Israelites had camped? They had camped at Gilgal. This is a place where the Israelites had come, which is called Gilgal. Now, a short distance, just a little distance from their camp at Gilgal, was the large city called Jericho. And this city, which was called Jericho, was the largest they found in the land of Canaan after crossing River Jordan. Now, before they crossed the River Jordan, this is the information they had. This proud city, the city was proud. It had reached its culminating point in history where wealth and accumulation of wealth was hoarded. And the deity of the pagans, the deity of the world, the earthly, masquerading the masks where Satan is masking himself. We are seeing that these things were exalted above the God who created them. So it is saying, this proud city behind its massive battlements offered defiance to the God of Israel. Jericho was especially devoted to witch god Ashtoreth, the goddess of the moon. Here centered all that was vilest and most degrading in the religion of the Canaanites. Kindly, just to watch again that video before we come back to this conclusion on this statement. Watch again. We are in part 1, episode 1, separation and apostasy.
Request to kindly felicitate and welcome Gunnar Diop.
तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Thank you very much. I request everyone to be seated, please. My friends, I'm sure you would have experienced during this World Peace Prayer the feeling of containment. And
think about the 3 pillars of the UN. The first pillar, this was a consensus, and this is where I will appeal to what is already indicated in this structure at an interpersonal level. Peace at a social want and freedom to live in dignity. Peace is at the heart of it all. But
yes, shortly, as we are putting everything in perspective, tracing the beginning or the start of Diop's speech, he is exalting United Nations. Guys, if you know United Nations, then brothers, we are supposed to understand that the policies running in the organization itself is satanic. We have to accept the fact that we are coming to the end of the world. Those who are confederating in the policies of Satan and Lucifer, these men are not God's people. The spirit in them is not shared with God. God cannot share one habitation. I hope we are ready with the beginning of the speech. Are we there? All right, so Israelites, they found a city that was proud, and this city was a little distance from Gilgal where they had camped. What happened was astonishing. God's spirit declares that this city was proud. It was exalting the gods of nature. Let's go to the types of this nature. If you're ready, let me know. this god of nature one. Jericho was especially devoted to Ashtoreth, the goddess of the moon. All right. So Ashtoreth, the goddess of the moon. Why? Moon controls the seasons. When you see the full moon, then you will know there is a nearing of the changing of another season. There are 4 seasons. So the moon indicates which season you are in. Is the high tide or the low tide? For those who live near the large water bodies. So I believe we are near. We are about to understand the speech of Diop. It is exalting the principles or the policies of Lucifer. Listen with your own ears and wake up and know what to do, that God cannot work with Satan. We are in our first episode, which is called Apostasy. Note, that is the title.
Sir, to kindly felicitate and
Are we there?
It could be that today a new peace treaty is needed. Again, comprehensive. So peace has to be inclusive, comprehensive. Peace at a personal level, peace at an interpersonal level, peace at a societal level, peace at national level, peace also at international level. And this is where I will appeal to what is already indicated in this structure, in this building. Faith-based organizations, religions, to live according to what we say we believe. Think about Judaism. At the heart of it, peace. The priestly blessing. It's about peace. And again, if you continue to the Christian scripture, Jesus called the Prince of Peace. How is it that people say they want to follow the Prince of Peace without embracing peace? Think about the 3 pillars of the UN. The first pillar,
he played a key role in advocating for the religious freedom, promoting dialogue
Did the death of Christ meant nothing? Why did he die? Was it because his brothers didn't want him to stand for truth? Is it because he refused to become one in unison with their traditions? Right? If you want the character of Christ, demonstrate it, live it, be with it, organize yourself. Jesus had the disciples organized for the service of the God, the Creator. Now, the very priest who ministered in the temple had lost sight of the significance of the service they performed. They had lost the significance of the service they performed. They had ceased to look beyond the symbol to the thing signified. They forgot. They lost the meaning. They had ceased to look. Actually, they didn't lose. To cease means to stop. Decidedly refusing. Deciding. Now, we're just going towards the direction of United Nations. All right? Next, we are going to see why apostasy is taking place in episode 2. Now, continue with this quotation. They had ceased to look beyond the symbol to the thing signified. In presenting the sacrificial offerings, they were as actors in a play. They were as actors in a play. Nominalism. Nominal. Seventh-day Adventist. You are a Christian by name. Why are you a Christian by name only? It seems you are an actor in a big play. Whose role are you playing? Is it, if it is by name, we know it is Satan, because Satan can become an angel of light. The ordinance which God himself had appointed were made the means of blinding the mind. The ordinance which God himself had appointed were made the means of blinding the mind and hardening the heart. God has appointed that the structure become a body with which management will be crucially overlooked by the overseers. But that means have been used to hoard men into uniting with the world. Look at that. Blinding men that the structure is the church. No, who's the church? What is the church? Do you know what is the church? The believers are the church. A church is a living organism. Living. One or two joined together. Christ is the head. They are the body. Continue. This means of blinding the mind and hardening the heart, God could do no more for man through these channels. God can do no more through those channels. Offshoots cannot be used by God. God uses his means, his own ordained means. So it is my prayer that as we are going into a short moment of thinking and reflecting, let us come to a realization that Moses was given a prophecy that these men will rise up in the last days. And what will they do? They will go to other gods. They'll go to what? Other gods. That's the key point. Now listen carefully. Deuteronomy 31, verses number 16. We are concluding. And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and these people will rise up and go a-whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land. And that's why in the book of Revelation 17, there is a whore. How do you go? How does the church become a whore? By making, we will see in the next episode, these definitions in their correct perspectives. I wish, and I hold my opinion, that God may keep you and protect you if you are willing to understand how to manage yourself in the soon opening crisis, because the priest and the prophet have refused to prepare you to stand in the great day of battle of the Lord. It's not even of Satan. God is the one who's coming, but Satan is waging war. Therefore, Christ is going to destroy Satan. Now, in conclusion, he's saying, and these people will rise up and go whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whither they go to be among them, and will forsake me and break my covenant, which I have made with them. Which covenant? Commandment number 1 says, thou shalt have no other God before me. That is the sin against God. The next episode, we are going to see how kings did the same thing Moses has been given as a prophecy. They just fulfilled the prophecy. In that history, we will see the position of those who reject the one true God in heaven, the God who created heaven and earth. And we will see the slight changes in the modern religion or modern society, how things have to be modified. And as our studies are going to continue more and more, clear and clear, truth is going to be made plain before us. Now, verse number 17, then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day. Where? In the day when they change their gods to the gods of the pagans. All right? In the day when they change their gods to the gods of the pagans. And I will forsake them. Now, many people are saying, oh, God cannot leave the church. My friend, if you understand the correct definition of the church, then you will understand why God cannot leave it. Because the church remains the church. It is what it means, the church. So as much as the church does not change her God, it holds on to the name church. If it changes the name church, it becomes heathen, paganism. Nothing more, nothing less. Verse 17 continue, and I will hide my face from them. Why hide my face from them? Because they are not seeking him. They are not loving him. And they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them. Do you think in this structure where God has been changed, Sunday law is going to be we are going to be victorious during Sunday law? No. Troubles and evils shall befall them when they forsake God and God forsake them. Who is forsaking one here? Who is beginning to forsake another? Good. The people, they will rise up and go a-whoring after the gods of the stranger and will forsake me. That is verse 16. Verse 17. Then, and I will forsake them. Okay. So, if you understand that part, then you are good to go. So that they will say in that day, are not these evils come up on us because our God is not amongst us? Let us come to the conclusion of the matter with a word of prayer. We are praying. Father in heaven, we thank you so much. We are asking that God's people may understand what is to be forsaken when we leave the foundation. We leave our living God to go to the hidden and pagan deities for teachings and lessons and doctrines. Then this position, the position of death, soul, and home, and war. The church is to become war in this condition. Therefore, we are asking, Lord, that a remnant may be left because the condition is growing wider and wider. Help those who are keeping watch, those who are awake to the situation. Wash us in the name of Christ, in the blood of Jesus Christ. You are Lamb. In Jesus' name we pray.